In our previous lesson, we learned how to take a two-dimensional raster graphic and bring it in through the material editor using the maps, which is short for image maps. We're going to use the same method here to go in and learn how to create two more common illusions. The first one is that of reflection, and then the next one is that of bump. Reflection is a little bit more obvious. When I say reflection, you know that something is going to be reflecting a certain image. So let's begin with that one. We're going to start with a fresh, clean scene here. I have a plane for the ground and a box for the wall. And I'm going to select my first material, which is a standard material. I'm going to open up the maps, and here we were using the diffuse color icon, last class with just the bringing in an image. But I'm not bringing in a photograph of a reflection. I'm bringing in a property of reflection. So I want to use the reflection icon. So I can come down here next to the word reflection, click the word none, and there again we have our material map browser. Earlier we were using bitmap, again for a standard graphic, but for a reflection you're going to use ray trace. Now ray trace, you're probably looking at it and say, well, why don't we choose reflect refract? That is a different property. Ray trace is going to give us a more realistic, almost a mirror finish to work with. Double click on ray trace, and you will notice now we're in a sub menu. It says ray trace up here. That's telling you the name of the menu you're in, which is ray trace. And what if I want to get back out of here? What if I want to jump to the next menu? This icon here, the sphere with the up pointing arrow, is go to parent. That's going to take me out of the particular ray trace and bring me back into the standard maps. Again, if I want to get back into ray trace, I can just click ray trace, and that opens up that sub menu. To get back to the main menu, go to parent. Now I have reflection set at 100% right now, so you'd probably say, well, that's a mirror. Well, let's find out. Let's click and drag the mirror finish to the object here. Now it's important when you do the mirror for the first time that you realize you need other objects around the scene in order to reflect. If I didn't have a floor here, it would simply reflect the black color in the atmosphere and I wouldn't see anything. Now let's hit render. If you notice here in the viewport, reflection does not work. Reflection is not visible in the viewport, even if you hit this button. You have to actually render to see a reflect map. Now what you see is that this gray box has a mirror finish, and it's actually pretty much mirroring the floor across the other side. We can also change our angle to see how that works in different angles. I'll do that again here. I'll hit render, and there we go. It's pretty much showing a mirror of that floor. Now, when you look at this, this is gray. And we can change the color of the mirror. By default, we're gray. We can go and do a blue. I hit render. Now I have a blue reflective mirror. To make a perfect mirror, use black. And the reason why is black is the absence of light. So it will pretty much give you a nice, perfect mirror finish. So you can't even see the mirror other than a little shade right here. If we had more objects in the scene, that would be relevant as well. I'll do a teapot in my view here. I can render. And there you see the teapot. Now the teapot, the mirror actually works real life mirror. This side of the teapot is brightly lit, where you'll notice the back half is dark because the light is not getting there and the mirror is showing that. So a mirror is a true view of the scene. Now we're going to go and try another one. This time I'm going to create a new material, and I'm going to apply what we call a bump texture to it. So I'm going to go back down into maps, and this time where it says bump, I'm going to change that to 100% to start off, and I'm going to open up the map for bump. One of the common properties of bump we can use is noise. When I hit noise, notice what happens here. It actually gives this sphere the illusion that it's bumpy. what bump is doing is it's taking the graphic that's white and black, and it's actually applying it, making the white protrude out and the black indent in. So it's telling Max to give it a texture. You can change several properties down here, such as fractional and turbulence. You can also change the size of the noise. The lower the number, the more you get in there. I'm going to go ahead and drag that to my floor. Bump is also another property that does not show up in the viewport. You must render to see it. Hit your render button, and now what you notice is we have this black and white bumpy illusion, and it also is relevant in the mirror side. Now you may look at this and say, well, when's this practical? It's very useful for like rocks, landscapes, water, but noise doesn't really do much for architectural settings. One that will be relevant, though, is the use of bump mapping when we talk about bricks and different brick textures. So I'll do that. I'll select another brand new slot. I'm going to go out to Maps, Bump, once again, changing it up to 100. And you can use this number to adjust the depth of that bump. So if I went back up here and changed it to 30, the bump wouldn't be as strong. Hit None. And this time, instead of using bump, which controlled the actual, or using noise, which controlled how the bump worked, I'm going to physically go back up and pick a bitmap. I'm going to go out and find a graphic that's going to influence the bump. Now, I've automatically defaulted to my architectural materials. This is a great example. You'll notice here that there are two versions of brick. There's a white and black brick, and then there's a red brick. Now, at first glance, you may say, oh, this is white brick, this is red brick, and that is true. But when you mouse over, you will notice that the very last part of this says the word bump. And what that's saying is that this graphic and this graphic are identical graphics, other than the color. This one is going to be used as a bump texture. This will be used as the image map. Let me demonstrate. I'm going to open up this for the bump and hit open. You'll notice up in the material slot that it actually looks like the bump texture is applied with the brick. I'm going to drag that over and replace my mirror. Again, bump does not show up in the viewport, so to see this, we're going to have to hit our render button and actually look at that. Now you notice, and again, maybe what I'll do here, just to give you an idea, is I'll come at an angle here and render again. And you can see the texture. Again, that graphic is black and white, so everything black pushes in, everything white pushes out, or vice versa, giving it the illusion that it is three-dimensional, even though we know that wall is a perfect square. To make this even more interesting, now I can go back into its properties. Notice how I'm stuck here in this menu. I hit my Go to Parent. I'm back out into the top menu, the root menu. Diffuse color controls the image. Grab a bitmap. Select the actual red burgundy brick that matches the bump. Hit open. Now what you can see is it's actually got the graphic in there that physically looks like brick, but it also has the texture of brick. I can hit this and it will show me the brick now in that viewport. And I can adjust the UVW mapping on this wall. But now if I hit render, you'll notice that not only does it look like brick, but it has the texture of brick. And this is really important because if you were to go and model a brick wall, you would have tons of extra faces in your scene that would be cutting down on your, it would increase your rendering time, but also slow down the memory on your computer. All that we've done was applied one texture here. Now we can go in to this object if we so want to. Select the actual object wall, go into Modify, and apply the UVW map. The beauty of this is that once we get the right setting we want, and we adjust, both the bump map and the standard image map will both update due to the UV mapping. So we do not have to keep switching back and forth and changing one another. The UV map controls any property of material with on that object. So it's very helpful to apply the UVW map. Now when I hit render, you'll notice that the bump texture actually lines back up again. Okay, so that's just a quick glance at more image maps, reflection, and bump textures, which are very helpful in creating this illusion. A combination of tiling will allow you to go out and create some very realistic materials to apply to your scene, which will help you gain a more professional look. And in our next lesson, we'll talk a little bit more about some additional material properties that you'll need to know in order to make your room look even more real.